Greetings and salutations to all of our friends and viewers and listeners out there in Rundown land. Welcome to the Freedback Friday edition of the Rundown. My name is Mike Wachowski. No, it's actually Wazowski was today. Mike Wazowski, and I'll be hosting the program today, but I don't do this program by myself.
No, you do not. I am Craig DeLuz coming at you from the left coast, California, or California, as some folks like to call it, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And I will be your co-pilot / engineer for today's Freedback Friday edition of the Rundown.
Oh, you are the chief engineer. That you could do this for me. Go woo woo.
I don't know if I can do it, Captain.
Yeah, Craig, today I got, while I was out earlier today before the program, I got, you sound like Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc. So that's the one I got today.
Yeah, for those of you who do not know, his name is Mike Piwowarski, and every time his name is mispronounced, that is how he is going to introduce himself on the next day's show.
So there's probably going to be more mispronunciations than correct pronunciations, that's for sure. So because
that's why we call you Mike P.
Mikey Mike.
And if you've had enough bourbon, we call you Mike PP.
Oh, yeah, easy. Hey, I'm not the guy with the bladder problem, with the little girl bladder problem, okay? I'm not saying who it is.
It ain't me. Definitely ain't me.
Oh, Craig, how's your day? How's your day going so far? How was your night? Everything all right for you there on the West Coast?
Dude, man, everything is phenomenal here in California. It's finally under 100, at least for a few days. You know, other than being under an oppressive government run by Gavin Mussolini, life is pretty good in California.
I saw that you had some wildfires starting up out there again, and I'm just assuming they're Trump's fault.
They must be Trump's fault. Clearly, Orange Man must be somewhere in the vicinity or must have sent a mean tweet that has led to a forest fire.
He shoots the mean orangeness out of his hands and makes fire.
That's what I hear. That's exactly what I hear.
All right. Well, let's get away from the jokes and into the news. Here we go.
Away from the jokes and into the news.
well, the first story is kind of a joke in itself. President Biden this week, when asked about his plans to combat gun violence, of course, the Second Amendment is right there. He has to mix that in with it, and he said, and I believe his quote was that you're going to need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons if you want to take on the government. You can't do that with just AR rifles alone. Listen, that started a poop storm of the memes out there.
Mikey,
that's for sure.
Mikey, I actually have the video. You want to see the video?
Oh, let's see it.
All right, check it out.
Enough rogue gun dealers feel like they can get away with selling guns to people who aren't legally allowed to own them. And I might add, the Second Amendment from the day it was passed limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own. You couldn't buy a cannon. Those who say the blood of patriots, and all the stuff about how we're going to have to move against the government. Well, the tree of liberty is not water with the blood of patriots. What's happened is that there never been, if you wanted to think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. The point is that there's always been the ability to rationally limit the type of weapon that can be owned and who can own it.
Craig, that's exactly what the government that fears your weapons will say to you when they want to restrict your weapons. This is exactly it. If you don't think that rifles alone and handheld firearms alone are enough to overtake a government, I could only point to, let me think, of Vietnam. Let's talk to the people of North and South Vietnam, formerly North and South Vietnam, now the Republic of Vietnam. Let's talk to, the people in Afghanistan and see how things are going there for them. There's just so many places to talk about how small arms themselves can take over a government. Hey, listen, these people think that 3 firearms and a couple of barricade pushers almost overtook the country on January 6th. Throw in a couple of AR rifles. Let's see what really happens.
Dude, you stole my thunder. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Absolutely ridiculous. How they feel about the these rifles. And by the way, Craig, I only assume now that our next push in firearms is to have F-15s and nuclear weapons available to us on Amazon.com. Yeah.
Well,
So.
you have to ask yourself, dude, this is just scary that we have a president who actually thinks like this. That actually thinks. I mean, dude, literally, basically said, if you stand up against your government when they're being tyrannical, well, guess what we're going to do? We're going to nuke you. Or we're going to bomb you with F-15s. So your AR-15 is not going to be anything compared to our F-15s. I'm like, imagine. Here's what I will say. Imagine if Donald Trump had said that. What do you think the headlines would have been the next day?
Orange man gone mad with nukes. We need to take the nuclear button away from him. He's going to nuke his own people. What is it, by the way? And it only seems to be the Democrats that want to use nukes against their own people. We see that from a couple of times now over the last years, how they would just nuke us if nuke us, the rest of the country, if we tried to use our own firearms to protect ourselves. So. One
has to wonder, man. I just once again, part of the fact is the fact that the mainstream media just lets them get away with this stuff. This lets them say whatever it is the heck they want to say, and then they cover it up. They act like they didn't say it. I mean, I go through AP, I go through CNN, I go through all of the mainstream media news sources, and they never. I mean, if this had been Donald Trump, the fact that he threatened to nuke his own people would have been the entire story.
Yeah, and they would have impeached him over it. Don't forget that. They would have impeached him over it.
They would have definitely impeached him over it. Not a doubt.
What else did Biden say in here? His quote was about the Tree of Liberty, and I believe that quote is the from time to time, the Tree of Liberty needs watering with the blood of tyrants and patriots. You listen, that's 100% true in our own history.
Right.
And it was written about our Revolutionary War and our break from Great Britain on April 19th, 1775, the Battle of Lexington. And I'm sorry, I always get in trouble when I say this. Our good friends up north want to remind me that it is not the Battle of Lexington and Concord. It's the Battle of Lexington and Concord. It said Concord, Mike, Concord. So the Battle of Lexington and Concord was not about coming to take the muskets in the hands of the Minutemen. It was taking the cannons and the stores and the gunpowder and the cannonballs that they had in their own armory. That's what they were coming to take. This is absolutely 100% about cannons and rifles and firearms, all of it together.
Oh, dude, I love the meme that I think you were the one who sent it to me that had it said, with a quote where he said you can't take people, you couldn't buy a cannon. And then who was the guy in the picture? Was that James Madison?
Yes.
James Madison. Okay. For those of you who are watching, who have very sensitive ears, cover your ears, but
just use the first letter.
Huh? Yeah. He's like the F you couldn't.
Yep.
Yeah. People privately owned cannons back then, you moron.
Yep.
Oh, and you should know you were there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were alive back then.
When one army stood up to the other on the battlefield in the old style of military, when cannons fired at cannons, where do you think those cannons came from? You think they went to Cannon Depot when the war started and got them?
No, dude, it was Joe Biden versus Corn Pop. That's what it was. Corn Pop was a Brit. Now we know why we can't find him anywhere here. He was a Brit.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Hey, Mike, real quick, we got to make sure to remind folks. Look, today's Freedback Friday. We got gifts that we're going to be giving away. Now, here's the deal. If you want to win them, you got to comment. Now, I know some of you are watching us on 2A News, both on YouTube and on Facebook. We're not watching the comments there. You got to go to the Rundown. You got to go to the Rundown, either on YouTube or on Facebook. That's where we're monitoring the comments. And the best commenter of the day, well, you will win. Well, Mikey, tell them what they can win.
You're going to win a 80% lower paperweight from our good friends at Grid Defense, or you're going to win a Jordi LaForge's visor. No, you're going to win an upper receiver from our good friends at Gorilla Machining.
See, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. So all you got to do is comment, be clever, be witty, be pithy, all that fun stuff. But just make sure that you are commenting. And if you see me looking around like I'm looking around, it's because I'm like I always say, I'm both in front of and behind the camera. So I'm kind of making sure that everything is still running smooth and checking your comments. But make sure you comment. This is about interaction. That's why it's called Freedback. We want your feedback. And if you do, you get something for free.
Yeah, that's it. If you want the free, you got to give the back. You got to give us some. You got to give us some. You got to have them together here. All right, let's see. Moving right along. All right, we already had one, Biden faux pas where he got up there and started making up facts about the history of this country. This time he just plain forgot. He plain forgot what was going on. And Craig, I don't know if you saw the horrific, stills and video from Surfside, Florida, down off Miami Beach, where half a condo just fell away. And as of last time I looked, they were still missing up to 90 people. This was a 12-story building, I think, and at least a third of the building was gone, just crumbled down. It looked like some kind of, and I think this was the mayor of Surfside that said it looked like some sort of third world event. It is the kind of thing you see down there. During his little press conference yesterday, while Biden is standing there, he gets ready to leave and kind of does his little wander off thing, and he always looks to me like Bert from Bert and Ernie. When Bert starts to leave, he starts to do that little "what do I do now" and walk away thing. Well, he starts to back away, and Kamala comes up and whispers in his ear, and you can hear it. She's like, "Joe, Florida, Joe, Florida," and he's like, "Oh yeah, Florida."
They make good orange juice.
And what happened in Florida is horrible. All we're waiting for is the governor down there to ask for help. All we're waiting is for the governor to ask for help. Oh, and by the way, the mayor down there, the city mayor, the county mayor, both said we have all assets on hand that we need. And by the way, Democrats about down there in the city and county in Dade County, and the governor said, "Hey, listen, at some point we're going to need federal assistance for this, so just put you on notice." But I guess nobody told that to Joe. He kept trying to do it like a little slap in the face to Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, Captain Florida,
right.
as if he didn't know anything about it.
The fact
he was there. He went to the scene.
Well, unlike our president, who has yet to go to the scene of the disaster at our southern border,
Right.
But that's a whole nother discussion. The thing is that it is getting to the point where, when the left wing nighttime comedians, the folks who host the left wing shows at night, start making fun of how senile the president is, that it is beyond hiding. Because when it is so bad that they cannot help, they have to make fun of him. That it's gone too far. Whether it was his comments on the guns and the trying to basically, he's talking about his crime bill, and all he talks about guns and the blood of patriots and F-15s and nuclear weapons, or it was his comments regarding the infrastructure deal that he comes back later and says, "Oh yeah, no, we're going to require these other bills to be passed as well, so we get all of this other spending," basically undoing what he said the earlier. The fact is that it is beyond obvious that he is losing his mental faculties, and it's happening at a rapid rate. And so many people are just flat out either ignoring it, or they're excusing it, or covering for him.
It's amazing that the president doesn't use this horrible tragedy down in Surfside as part of his infrastructure plan. Because, Craig, I don't think the president actually knows what infrastructure is, looking at what he's trying to use that money for. But infrastructure is for things like roads, bridges, buildings, and things like that. And here's a building that collapses, and who knows how many people are killed. This is the perfect opportunity to bring in infrastructure. To use that as part of your argument. But Joe's not that quick. We know that. Again, you saw on stage the vice president have to whisper things in his ear, and he goes, "Oh, okay," and works his way back up to the microphone there for to remind them about what had happened to 100 of the residents down there. So, hey, speaking of infrastructure, let's remind you of the infrastructure of an AR-15 that you may win if you have the proper comments, and you give us some comments, and you're entertaining or informative, whatever you want to be here. You could be winning this upper receiver from Gorilla Machining and this lower 80% receiver paperweight from Grid Defense. So make sure you're interactive there as well. Craig, before we jump into the next topic, you kind of mentioned it. Did you see what happened just very briefly yesterday when Kamala went to the border yesterday? Did you see that response she got down there?
No, I actually did not see the response. Why don't you go ahead and share it with us?
We'll save that for Monday, but clearly I think they were expecting Biden's brother Frank, because every one of them was down there yelling, F Biden, F Biden.
Well, I just found it interesting that she had no plans to go to the border until they found out that Donald Trump was going to go to the border, and she had to make sure she got there before he did.
Right. I guess they forgot that he kind of lives at the border on the beach in Florida. So that is our border.
Hey, our good buddy Dave on YouTube is commenting. First, he wanted to make sure that we noted that, Bert is evil, referring to Joe Biden.
Yeah. True.
Secondly, he wanted to say he had another Jeffersonian quote, a little revolution now and then is a good thing.
Yeah. Sure it is. Absolutely right. Yeah, listen, and it's been, let's see, what have we had? It's 65, 35, 135, 150, 156 years since we've had one here. Sorry, I was doing the math. I had to look up there. Since we had one. So it's time. It's time for one, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so far. Remember, everybody's competing. Everybody's doing. And listen, I know everybody wants to win something, but we will go off on your comments until you could take us down that path. We are the Squirrel Twins, Squirrel Twin Power Activate, and we'll be down that rabbit hole with you.
Ooh, squirrel!
Yeah, it's a shiny,
shiny objects. Gun.
Let's move along to our good friends, America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. In just what do we got here? We got 20 years since Giuliani has left New York City mayorship, and it has taken just about that amount of time to turn it into the giant crap hole it has become. Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. I mean, Giuliani was mayor when 9/11 happened, and New York is worse now than it was when 9/11 happened. Okay, he's turned it into that kind of crap hole. And I'm not trying to demean the lives of those lost during the opening days of the war on terror. That's absolutely not. I'm just saying they've gone from very difficult times to a crap hole. Is what you have there now. So evidently, Craig, remember how you and I talked about how Biden and his administration is going to try and heal and bring the whole country together?
Oh, yeah. Kumbaya, my Lord.
Right. Well, once again, that's only if you're a Democrat.
There you go. Let's bring all the Democrats together.
If you happen to be a Republican or associated with any means with the last candidacy, with the last presidency of President Trump, they're going to do everything they can to tear you apart and embarrass you. I want you folks to remember this, and I want you to tell this to any liberal friends you have left. President Trump did not put Hillary in jail as much as we all begged for it every day, because he tried to keep the unity in this country. He tried to keep us together. And then the moment this new administration's in office, it's all they're doing is going after everybody that was Trump and Trump left and Trump right and Trump down the center. They're going after him. When the next administration takes place, and it's going to be in 2024, when the Republicans are back in power, just hold on to yourselves. Hold on to your asses, because every freaking one of you is going to jail. Had the time,
and they've set the precedent.
Yep. You had the opportunity to take the high road, the same as President Trump did, and you didn't. And now every one of your asses is going to jail, and I'm going to block traffic and kick the door closed when they take you away.
We will all be in celebration.
Yeah,
just
for the whole 8 years. For the whole 8 years.
Yep. Just y'all. So y'all know that. Y'all know that and recognize that we will be in celebration when they start hauling Democrats off to jail. What's crazy about this, man, is I once again, I don't know exactly which specific statements they're saying he said that were out and outright lies. There were statements that he made that I think that people don't believe that there was enough evidence to support. Now, some people believe there was, some people believe there wasn't. But to say that he made completely and utterly false statements, I don't know that that is the case. I do know that several folks have made completely false statements in front of Congress, and I don't see anybody going after them. Oh, that's right. That's because they're Democrats.
Exactly right.
Nobody's jailing them.
Yeah. The reason that his license was suspended, and it's temporarily suspended, it can be reinstated. It wasn't revoked. It was suspended at this point because he made false statements concerning the president's allegations of fraud and cheating in the election was stolen. That's it. That's what it was about. It's not that he went out and said, he gave up secrets, that he did anything illegal. Guess what an attorney is supposed to be? They are an advocate for their client. If you're a criminal defense attorney and you know your client is guilty, you know what you do? You go out there and you fight for his freedom and you fight for his innocence because you want an attorney that's going to do that for you. That's what they do. They're going to try and fight for you. Now, I absolutely believe, and I think most of the nation is starting to see this every day, that election was stolen. How many suitcases under a table counted at 2 a.m. do we have to show you the video of? How many times do we have to see this? How many times do you have to see the proof, the physical proof, the circumstantial proof that this happened? And this is going to come out. And these people that just took away Giuliani's, suspended his license, well, guess where you're going in 3.5 years? Guess where you're going?
Well, the biggest challenge, I think, with a lot of folks in the media is that we're finding more and more that, in particular over the last year, but in general, that many of the things and many of the positions that they've taken have actually turned out to be wrong, whether it has to do with COVID-19 or whether or not it has to do with the election. I think that while people may have doubt as to whether or not the election was stolen, there is no doubt that there were rules that were broken.
Right.
That various, whether it's government elected, unelected bureaucrats made decisions and changed rules about federal elections that were not within their purview, and that no doubt, undoubtedly, affected the vote totals in elections. And in some places, these were in very, very key areas. I think there's no doubt that there was a lot of mistakes made during the election. Maybe not intended fraud, but definite mistakes made. And by the way, there was fraud. There was significant fraud. Now, whether or not it was enough to overturn an election is one thing, but to say that the statements that were made were unfounded is completely false. There is no way you can say it was unfounded because there's clearly evidence that things were being done either improperly or illegally, or just people were screwing up. I think there's no doubt that is the case. And I think that is what they're basing this prosecution of Rudy Giuliani on, and I think it is just wrong.
Yeah, did we have an evidentiary hearing and I missed it, Craig? I mean, did this board of this bar association in New York, did they have it and we didn't hear about it? I don't know. Seems like that would make good TV. I think that would make excellent TV, and I would love to see. And that was one of my whole things. I kept saying, look, okay, well, now that this is all legally, I don't know if it's all legally behind. Look, lay out the evidence. Let's do a show. We got stations where we can actually put together a show talking about all the stuff that was going on, link everything together, and so that then everybody can see the evidence for themselves. I want to see it. If it's there, I want to see it. My concern is I've seen anecdotal evidence. I haven't seen the full breadth of the evidence that the election was fraudulent. Yeah, and
I want to see it.
We'll find out. We'll find out in time, and we're all going to sit around, Craig, when we're in the rocking chairs, throwing empty beer cans at passing police cars, and that we're just going to be rocking back and forth and thinking, look, we all know the truth now. We all know the truth.
We all know the truth.
Like I said, it's come out with COVID, right? It's the Wuhan virus. No, it's not. That's racist, by the way. It came from a bat, or whatever it happened. No,
let's be clear. Let us be clear. So it is the Chinese Wuhan Kung Fu bat flu.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. What Craig said.
It's all in there.
Yeah. It was the 19th version of it also. All right, Craig. Let's see. Rolling right along here. Max Boot. Max Boot. This, it's actually kind of ironic. Max Boot is a reporter with the Washington Post, the WAPO, and he has gone after Governor Ron DeSantis, Captain Florida, for his what's he calling it? Waging a culture war, for his strict, Republican views, for his conservative views, and yet. Maybe it's funny, haha. It's funny, ironic. I don't know, but the guy's name's Max Boot. It sounds like the type of marching that the Nazis did. What did they do? We did the Max Boot march down to the thoroughfare before we sent the Jews away. It sounds just like that, the Max Boot. Anyway, this guy is so ate up. This guy must have had the Trump derangement syndrome like you wouldn't believe, because now he's seeing Trump in other people. He thinks that Captain Florida Ron DeSantis is the new Trump. He's taking on Trump's ways. He is waging a Trump-style war.
Well, the reason why they're doing this, Mike. The reason why they're doing this is because they don't have Orange Man to kick around anymore. And so they have to find a new villain. They have to find somebody else to blame all of their failed policies on. And it's amazing that they're basically pointing to this guy in Florida who, by the way, kept his state open for most of COVID. Their economy is great. The numbers in terms of deaths and infections and all of that, their COVID numbers are no different than here in California, where we basically shut everything down. Their schools stayed open. Their education numbers, which, by the way, were already higher than ours, are now even higher than ours here in the state of California. And the fact is that here you have an individual who's standing up against woke ideology. He's standing up against fear and fear-mongering. He's standing up against those who want to put socialism and communism over our free market enterprise system. I mean, dude is standing up and doing, let me see, what Trump would have done. But he's right. It is a culture war. But it's a culture war against those who want to tear down America, and a culture war between and those who want to keep America strong. And guess what, Das Boots or Max Boots or whatever the heck your name is, you're on the other side. You're on the anti-American side. So yeah.
You're exactly right. And he goes on in his story and he talks about how Trump's destroying, how DeSantis is destroying the state of Florida with things like banning transgender people from competing outside their natural gender, and from banning critical race theory being taught in school. And this is what he did. He said, and I checked with all the school boards, and nobody's been teaching critical race theory. And they contacted the governor's office, and the governor's office said, well, and we're going to keep it that way. That's why we passed the law. We didn't want to wait for it to happen. We did it now, so we don't have to worry about it getting in there and then fighting for it.
He didn't want to wait. He didn't want to wait for the He didn't want to wait for the Californication of Florida, because he didn't want to wind up like Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Arizona's now on the downside of some of this stuff. Colorado is. I mean, these are all states that waited until the Marxist left took over before they finally started fighting back. Folks, I'm just telling you right now, if you're not fighting now, if you're not proactive like they're being right now in Florida, just look at the West Coast wall of gun control and just know that will be coming your direction.
It's coming east. Listen, it was California, then it grabbed Washington State. Nobody figured it would go past that. Then it's grabbed Oregon. It's grabbing Nevada. It's grabbed Arizona. It's coming, folks. It's coming to the east. And it's up to us to stop it ahead of time. That's why you're seeing all these sanctuary states and cities pop up, because to tell people, no, not happening here. We'll meet you at the wall with our nuclear weapons and F-15s.
Yeah, just like Dave Wilcox said, we didn't start the fire. That's how the old song goes.
I thought that was Billy Joel that sang that, not Dave Wilcox.
Well, no, Dave Wilcox quoted the song. In his comments on YouTube.
Okay, gotcha. All right, understood.
Patrick, it is good to see you. Anti-gunners always try to shotgun issues as epidemics, and that's true. They literally do. Whether it's an epidemic of racism, because racism, by the way, now is a public health issue.
Sure.
So it's an epidemic. Gun violence. I'm sorry, I forgot my air quotes. Gun violence is an epidemic, right? Then we actually had a pandemic.
Yeah. That way we can use the healthcare money and the CDC money to go after the firearms, because it's been ruled illegal to use other federal monies to have anti-gun programs.
Well, we already know, it's already been determined that liberalism is a mental disorder. So maybe that's the problem. We have an epidemic of liberalism.
We should use chemotherapy to get rid of it. And I have a microwave here at the house that I can use on some Democrats to help get rid of their liberalism.
I would suggest,
Shrink it away.
and this is probably not politically correct, but I would probably suggest lead therapy.
Ooh, lead can lead to long-lasting effects, Craig. Maybe copper therapy.
Maybe copper. Okay.
Copper therapy. Yeah. At least some copper jacketed lead, to make it safer. It's just. Oh no, we don't listen. Don't go out and shoot anybody, folks. All right, we got the jokes. Okay, is what we got here for you today. Hopefully it never comes down to that. It never comes down to the tree of liberty needing water again with the blood of tyrants and patriots. Hopefully we can solve it over pen and paper, but it does not appear to be going that way when you continue to have these ass clowns throughout every story we've given you today, wanting to tell us how your views as a conservative middle ground, as a person that doesn't agree with them on one topic, that you're worthless. So, Craig, let's roll into story number 5 here. I don't know if you saw this. This is kind of back page news. I've seen it. It's trying to bubble its way up, and I don't think anybody understands what's really happened there. We had former NRA president David Keene. He's NRA president 15, 20 years ago, I believe it was, and friend of the program, Dr. John Lott, economist, who were tricked, were lied to. We're lied to and tricked, and we're asked to come out and give a commencement address to the James Madison Academy in Las Vegas. And they were told, listen, why don't you come out and give the commencement address? John Lott said they asked him to get involved in politics and Second Amendment. And John said, Dr. Lott said, it's not really what we do. It's about life experiences and, what you would normally give at a commencement address. And they told him he had to do at least half a speech on it. So Dr. Lott prepared his speech and did like he always does. He gives us nothing but facts on gun violence and Second Amendment issues. And they told David Keene and Dr. Lott that they were going to be doing this in front of a empty audience as a dress rehearsal. Well, they got up there and they did it, and they did exactly what they were going to do. And then that was it. Then David Keene and Dr. Lott didn't hear anything from them. Well, the organizers of this event, Craig, are Manuel and Patricia Oliver. They are the parents of a child killed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High in Parkland, Florida. They had 3,044 empty seats. According to them, 3,044 is the number of high school kids killed by gun violence this year, which we know is lies. We know they're different. Their definition of gun violence and actual violence and guns are completely different than reality. So they get up there and they try to embarrass David Keene and Dr. Lott. And in my opinion, it's just backfired on them. They tried to say that it's because these two people blocked background checks that these children were dead, when that's not the case. In Parkland, he passed the background check while under FBI scrutiny investigation, passed the background check.
Well, exactly. And, that's the thing is in many of these cases, these are individuals who either purchased a firearm illegally, or let me clarify, obtained the firearm illegally, so they wouldn't have gone through a background check. That's easily 96% of all 96% of all firearms that are used in crimes, and that's probably something that John Lott pointed out. Or in many cases, those who did go through a background check, those who did purchase it legally, went through a background check. These are not individuals who did not go through background checks. And the worst part is just, once again, the lies and the deception. And that's how the anti-gun community works, is they lie. In many cases, they're ignorant as to firearms law, firearms business, and firearms technology. They don't know what they're talking about. But then they come forward and they just flat out lie. And in this case is no different. And they play on emotion in order to do that. And then the worst part is once again, about playing on the emotion is is that they lie in order to do it.
Lies like the Second Amendment was never about cannons. The Second Amendment never included letting people own cannons. The founding fathers restricted the use of these firearms, and what a load of crap. Joe's just going to get up there and spout off the way he wants to. He's going to try and trick the people. Well, hey, listen, he got the fools on his side.
Yeah, he did.
And he got about 48% of them to vote for him, and then another 4% to trick ballot, and to ballots from underneath the table that were counted extra.
Well, that's. I will tell you that's part of the problem is that folks never vote for someone who tells you exactly what you want to hear. Vote for someone who tells you what you need to hear. I was just looking at the stats from the IRS, and we'll probably talk about this on Monday's show. But when you realize that 50%, the lowest 50% of all of income earners pay about 3% of all federal taxes, but yet it only takes 50% plus one to vote to tax everybody else. Because, by the way, the top 5%, which represents those who earn over, I think it's like $219,000 a year, they pay 40% of all federal taxes. So, yeah, it's not real hard when your main campaign philosophy is, let's tax those guys, right? Those guys, even though they pay 40%, they don't pay their fair share. And the rest of y'all who are going to side with us, yeah, you only pay 3%. But that's okay because that's not, that's your fair share. That's enough. Yeah, when that's your campaign philosophy, it's hard not to win.
You're coming up with numbers and facts, and Joe Biden is still struggling with the fact that this was a USA Today poll, by the way, that 50% of the people actually make up half of the population. He's still having a hard time wrapping his head around those.
50% of the people make up half the population.
Yeah, he's still having a hard time trying to figure that one out. So
now you do know that 50% of all. 70% of all statistics are untrue, right?
Yeah, well, 90% of the people know that right off the bat. Yeah.
All right, sir.
Freedback Friday. Here it is. We've got you a 80% lower paperwork from our good friends at Grid Defense, and a 100% T-75 aircraft grade aluminum upper receiver for America's rifle. These come together like chocolate and peanut butter, and they are going to be hopefully somebody has commented, Craig, and we can give these away.
We've got some pretty good comments so far, and I would have to say that right now, largely because of both the correctness of his statements and comments and because of his consistency, our good friend Mr. Patrick Collins from Georgia is in the lead.
Ooh, Patrick Collins. I know him. He was he was in the orbital spacecraft when Apollo 11 was circling the moon.
Oh, wait. He just said they go together like salt and pepper.
Salt, like peas and carrots.
Push it.
Like
push
Jenny
it real
good.
Dun, 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 dun,
I'm sorry. It was Michael Collins. That's such a weird. Not Patrick Collins.
Oh, Jesus. Lord help me. Lord help me.
Saw my notes there. All right, Craig. I think we might have time for a parting shot. I know I sent you about 12 or 13 of them, so I'm not even sure which one you put up today. So we'll take a look at it.
All right, so here's what we're going to do, man, because these are so good. There are 3 of them, and all of them are of the same theme. Okay. And they're pretty much talking about referring to President Biden's comments relating to, the whole, if you want to take on the government, you're going to need an F-15 and nuclear weapons. Here's the first one by Sebastian Gorka, which I thought was actually very, very good. When the man who bears the title president says you don't need a gun because he can nuke you, that's when you buy another gun.
Exactly right, and a bigger one. Yeah,
exactly.
Get you a bigger one.
Exactly. That's when you buy another gun. And then there's this one. So since we're going to need an F-15, because every time we go to the gun store, we got to post pictures on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else on the Webernets of the gun that we just bought.
That's me in the pilot seat, by the way. Just so
that is definitely you in the pilot seat. I'm telling you, because the Lord knows I do not know how to fly a plane. Okay, and then we've got this one. Hey, we all know who that is. That is Drake, and obviously that must be the orange man behind him. It says, "Oh, mean tweets threatening to nuke your own country." Yeah, folks, this is why we have a Second Amendment. Because wow, I mean, dude, literally, and like you said, why is it always Democrats who are threatening to nuke us?
It's amazing. It's amazing. They're going to nuke us. These are the people that wanted to get rid of nukes. Remember? No nukes. No nukes. You know?
No nukes. No nukes. No
And the way they're
nukes.
going to get rid of them is by nuking their own people. It's just,
I'm just saying, folks. Look, Democrats. The only thing that really worries me about. Well, there's a couple of things that really worry me about how bad the president has gotten and some of the stupid things that he's saying. One is that he might actually act on some of the stupid stuff, like nuking his own people. But the worst part is that once, and eventually, I think it's going to come before the end of his first term. Once he has been deemed to be mentally deficient, is that then we're going to have Kamala Harris as our president. And I can just tell you, anyone who doesn't get this, who doesn't know this, that is going to be a very, very bad thing for our country.
listen, exactly right. And I'll tell you when their plan is. Their plan is to do it 2 years and 1 day after Joe's been in office, because once it's on the downside of his term, once it's less than half the term, then she's allowed to serve that less than half a term. Plus, she's eligible to be elected for 2 more terms. So she could be elected for a total of 8 years plus 2 years minus a day. So she could be the president for 10 years minus a day. If she were to take over now, she'd only be able to up for 1 re-election because she would have served the majority of his term rather than a minority of it. So look for this to happen the day after the 2022 election cycle.
Okay, well, hey, just on another note, Carrie, let me just tell you, the fact that you posted 1 comment and then you're surprised you're not in the running because you didn't post a second comment, and you think it's because you're a woman. Number one, I know you. I know that's not you. That's you just being a smartass. Okay, but no.
Yeah, I'm married. I have no comment. Not fighting with a woman on the air. Not happening. Unless it's Kamala Harris.
Well, I will tell you, Carrie and her betrothed Aaron are good friends of my wife and I, and she is as pro Second Amendment as anybody on the show
Absolutely.
or watching this show. So they are both very, very good folks, and I am very much looking forward to attending the wedding coming up here in the fall. With that, Mikey, I'm just going to have to say, I mean, do you have a favorite? Have you been monitoring the comments?
The only comments I've been monitoring are yours, Craig.
Okay. Well, then with that, and I know that we've folks have been commenting. Dave, you did a fantastic job, but well, you've already won. And well, Patrick, I got to say, you the man. You the man. I think Patrick Collins is going to be our winner for today. Woo-hoo! From the great state of Georgia. From the great state of Georgia, Patrick Collins. We very much appreciate you tuning in.
We do. And what's that, Patrick? You want us to give it to the next guy instead of you? Oh, all right. We'll save it for next week, Patrick. All right, we'll do that for you.
Yeah,
no, it's yours, Patrick. We kid. It's yours.
Yes. So you guys, I mean, you know how to reach us, Patrick. You can DM us, hit us up, and then we'll make sure we have your information, and then we will get your prizes to you. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for this edition of the Rundown Freedback Friday. We very much appreciate you folks tuning in. Here's the thing, folks. We want the show to grow. We want the number of sponsors to grow. And to do that, we need you guys to like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. Check us out across all the platforms. Send us ideas for show topics. We'll gladly include them in the program. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh, yeah. If you guys comment, like if you do it in the comments or you DM us story ideas or things that you want to hear about, hit us up and we'll check them out. And if they're cool stories, man, we will make sure to talk about them, put them on the air, and have a good time.
Ring me up, baby. We'll take care of it for you.
All right, folks. Hey, have a good weekend, and we will see you on Manic Monday.
Just another Manic Monday. Fade out.